You know the basic rules of life, right? Don't steal, stop at red lights, make sure you pay your taxes. But if you look just a little bit closer and travel a little further, the legal landscape gets wonderfully and sometimes terrifyingly bizarre. Today we're embarking on a fun, documentary-style journey into some of the most unbelievable global rules out there. And trust me, these aren't just wacky urban legends. These are actual, documented laws on the books around the world. Some are ancient, and some are surprisingly modern. Welcome to The Explainer. I mean, just picture this for a second. You're strolling down a gorgeous street on vacation, casually blowing a bubble with your chewing gum, or maybe you're breaking in a new pair of shoes that happen to click-clack a bit too loudly on the pavement. Out of nowhere, you're handed a massive fine, or worse, you're facing arrest. No way, right? It sounds like a complete joke, like some sort of dystopian comedy. But I assure you, these are very real situations. What seems like a totally innocent everyday habit to us could literally be a strict legal offense somewhere else. Okay, let's dive right into this. To make sense of this massive global legal maze, we've broken our tour down into 5 key areas: banned public behaviors, personal health and identity, strict rules about money, wildlife and highway safety, and finally, bizarre historical leftovers.
Starting us off, Section 1. Banned public behaviors. Let's see how public etiquette is strictly regulated.
So we all know Singapore is world-renowned for its incredibly pristine streets and just amazing efficiency. But maintaining that level of perfection, it comes with a pretty unique legal cost: a nationwide ban on the sale of chewing gum. And look, this wasn't just some random government overreach. Back in the day, discarded chewing gum was causing absolute havoc on their public transport system. People were actually sticking gum onto the sensors of subway train doors. It caused huge delays and cost the city a total fortune in maintenance and cleaning. Today, the only strict exception you'll find is for medical or dental gum, and even that has to be prescribed by a doctor.
Did you know that's how one small habit changed an entire country's policy? It's a fascinating reality check. A seemingly harmless piece of candy literally brought multi-million-dollar transit systems to a screeching halt, completely forcing a national legal intervention. It really makes us think about that delicate balance between personal freedom and public order, doesn't it?
All right, let's head over to Europe, specifically Switzerland. Now, you might have heard this famous myth that flushing your toilet after 10 p.m. is a direct criminal offense. Well, let's separate fact from fiction here. While there isn't some federal toilet flushing police, Switzerland does have incredibly strict apartment noise regulations. Landlords implement severe quiet hours, usually kicking in right at 10 p.m. Their culture places a massive importance on peace, quiet, and just basic respect for neighbors. So while the actual police might not bust your door down for a 10:01 p.m. flush, running your laundry or making a ton of plumbing noise late at night can absolutely get you penalized by your building administration.
And this brilliantly illustrates how Italy relies heavily on strange local ordinances to protect its heritage. It's like a patchwork of local rules. In Venice, feeding pigeons is strictly illegal, mostly because the birds' acidic droppings were actually eroding their priceless historical statues. Down in Rome, you'll find strict rules against sitting on or eating anywhere near their famous fountains, just to maintain their cleanliness and dignity. And on the luxurious island of Capri, noisy shoes, like loud wooden clogs, are flat out banned to preserve the peace and quiet for everyone. So every strange rule here actually has a very practical preservationist intent behind it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Personal Health and Identity. This is where governments unexpectedly regulate personal bodies and names.
Over in Japan, there's this singular, highly unusual annual event. Under what's commonly known as the Metabo Law, Japan literally mandates an annual waistline check for citizens between the ages of 40 and 74. If a man's waist exceeds 33.5 inches or a woman's exceeds 35.4 inches, they're legally required to attend dietary counseling. But here's the thing. The government isn't doing this to shame people. It's actually a massive, proactive, state-level strategy to fight obesity, prevent metabolic syndrome, and ultimately reduce the heavy burden on their national healthcare system.
Now, if you're having a baby in France, naming your child involves 3 distinct legal steps. First, you propose the name to the local registrar. Second, there's an actual welfare check. The registrar literally reviews the name to make sure it won't invite mockery on the playground. Third, if a judge decides the name is just too funny, ridiculous, or potentially harmful to the kid's future, it gets legally rejected. So no, unfortunately, you absolutely cannot name your child Nutella or Strawberry in France, no matter how much you love breakfast. It's all about protecting the child's welfare from day one.
All right, that brings us to Section 3,
Strict rules about money, because everyday currency comes with its own bizarre regulations. If you are ever in Thailand and you drop a coin, whatever you do, do not use your foot to stop it from rolling away. It is strictly illegal to step on money there. Why? Because Thai currency features the image of the king. In Thailand, the monarchy is treated with the absolute utmost reverence, and culturally, the feet are considered the lowest, dirtiest part of the body. So, stepping on the king's face is seen as a grave insult and a very real criminal offense. It perfectly reflects their deep cultural traditions.
Now, what's really interesting about Canada's approach is that they handle physical money quite differently. They actually have a legal tender coin cap. Basically, it's a maximum limit on how many coins you can use in a single transaction. Under Canadian law, you can't just waltz into a store and buy a $50 item using nothing but pennies or nickels. The law caps the amount of loose change considered legal tender for one purchase. It's specifically designed to stop people from holding up the line and harassing cashiers with wheelbarrows full of change. As you can imagine, retail workers absolutely love this rule.
Next up, Section 4, Wildlife and Highway Safety. Let's look at how animals and fast vehicles get governed. Australia is of course famous for its incredibly unique ecosystem, and they enforce some intense wildlife protection acts to keep it that way. For example, there are strict ironclad rules about how you can interact with kangaroos or specific protected bird species. In their national parks, the laws are incredibly tight regarding bringing in non-native species or even taking a rock out with you. The history here is pretty simple. Australia has a very fragile, isolated ecosystem. Messing with that wildlife balance has historically led to massive ecological disasters, so they just do not take any chances. Let's switch gears to the world-famous German Autobahn, where many stretches have literally zero speed limits. Did you know that running out of fuel there is legally classified as a preventable emergency? Which means it is illegal. Stopping on the side of the Autobahn is incredibly dangerous because of how fast everyone is going. And since you have complete control over checking your own gas gauge, running out of fuel is considered totally negligent. If your car dies because you didn't check the tank, you're going to face some severe fines for violating their highway safety rules.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Bizarre Historical Leftovers.
Over in the United Kingdom, some truly weird laws have somehow miraculously survived the centuries. It's like a giant puzzle of history. Back in the medieval era, some incredibly strange rules were put on the books. Jump to the 19th century, and you get the formalization of rules like the monarch technically owning all the sturgeons, whales, and dolphins in British waters. And yes, that law still exists today. Fast forward to the modern day, and you still have old Parliament traditions remaining, like the famous law making it illegal to wear a suit of armor inside the Houses of Parliament. While a lot of historical laws you see online are total myths, these technicalities about royal fish in medieval armor, they actually still have legal relevance on paper. So, the crucial point here is context. Laws are living, breathing documents. It's super fascinating to look back at weird laws that have finally been repealed, like laws that dictated the specific colors certain social classes were allowed to wear, or the rule that required a man holding a red flag to walk in front of early automobiles. When you look at why they were created in the first place, whether it was to maintain a social hierarchy or just manage the absolute fear of new technology, they made perfect sense to the people who wrote them, even if they sound completely absurd to us today.
So what does this all mean? Which of these laws completely caught you off guard today? And more importantly, what do these strange rules say about our own unique cultures, traditions, and histories? From Singapore's absolute quest for cleanliness to Thailand's deep, profound respect for their monarchy, the very things we choose to outlaw tell a fascinating story about what we truly value. I hope you had fun discovering the world's strangest rules with me in this explainer. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please engage, like, and subscribe for more deep dives into incredible facts from around the globe. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.